Welcome to Behind the Audition podcast with your host, Curt Hilton. Listen in on interviews with voiceovers, filmmakers, producers, animators, and much more. Curt, a voice actor himself, will give insider tips to the business, talk with guests about how they got into the business, and be sure to stay tuned to the end of the podcast when he challenges his guests with a pop-up audition. Now it's time for Behind the Audition podcast. Here's Curt Hilton.
Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Audition podcast. On this episode, I got to speak to the amazing voice actor, Bob Bergen. Bob and I talked about how he started out in the voiceover industry. He gave some great tips while auditioning during the audition challenge. We talked about landing the gig as the voice of Porky Pig, and how one thing is very essential if you want to make it as a voice actor in this industry. So sit back and enjoy another episode of Behind the Audition podcast. All right, my next guest, I am so pumped. We planned this appointment probably a good month ago, and I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan because as most voice actors, we dream of being characters on animation shows, movies, TV, games, all that kind of stuff. I like commercial animation. I actually do a couple shows, and when I saw my next guest portfolio, their IMDb, I was blown away. And you will too, because he's been in shows and TVs like Ridley Jones, Star Wars, Bad Batch, Oddballs, Blaze and the Monster Machine, Minions, Rise of Gru, Robot Chicken, and not to mention the voice of Porky Pig. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Bob Bergen. How you doing today?
Hey, what is happening?
You know, I do apologize for my video. I think we were having a ball with that. I was kind of glitching out in the beginning, and it looks like
That's
I need to update it.
That's okay. It was a psychedelic thing, and for people who are only listening, boy, did you miss some fun weirdness.
I'm so thankful for you to come on, because you are one of the voice actors, I follow on social media as well as follow just in general, because you're not like most VOs who get into this, and of course they think I can do that voice of this character. You actually bring different voices of other characters, and you bring it very well. What was it when you first got into this industry? What was it that made you want to get into character animation and all that, voicing those kind of characters?
Just something I wanted to do since I was a little kid. And I didn't even know there was a business called voiceover. Mm-hmm. I just knew, that's a cartoon. I want to do that. So It was literally just a kid watching cartoons who wanted to do what I'm hearing on TV. And it wasn't until, as I got older, I realized, this is an industry. This is a business. And I grew up in the Midwest. You can't be a cartoon voice actor in the Midwest in the 70s. It just, there's no way to do it. But I got lucky that my dad moved the family to LA when I was 14. So before he moved us here, because we were finishing up a year of school, he would commute back and forth on this new job. But I would say to him, when you come back home to visit, do me a favor and just rip out pages in the yellow pages that say cartoons or animation. And so, he goes, what am I ripping out? Well, I don't know, Disney, Warner Brothers, Hanna-Barbera, and just any of that stuff. So when I moved to LA, I had just a list of phone numbers, and my mother was like, you do realize, honey, he didn't have to damage a phone book for this. You could have just looked in a phone book when you got there. I was like, yeah, but this sounds more dramatic and interesting.
It's so fun. So what part of the Midwest did you grow up?
I was born in St. Louis and lived there till I was 8, and from 8 to 14, Cincinnati, and from 14 on, Los Angeles.
Oh my gosh. I grew up in St. Peters, Missouri. So,
okay.
So you're probably very fond of the area, 25 miles outside of St. Louis. Very cool. That's very exciting to know. A lot of people do grow up in the Midwest that, do get into this industry. And nowadays, what's great is you don't really have to move to LA to pursue these roles, because you can do everything from your studio. When you first got into this industry and you learned, how to actually act and everything, did you keep a specific coach to help you with your acting?
No, I had hundreds of coaches. I studied with every teacher that LA had to offer. And I got very lucky. Back then there weren't that many. And there was a trade magazine called Dramalog, which today is called Backstage. Mm-hmm. And because Backstage purchased Dramalog. Mm-hmm. But I just found voiceover classes, and an actress named Louise Chamis. I just found her number, and I called up, and my mom and dad were like, look, we can't vet these people. We don't know them. We don't know what's good. We don't know what's bad. Mm-hmm. So, go and if after a few times you realize this is kind of weird, this isn't working for me, then we'll find somebody else. But she had an ad in Drama Log that said, do you do funny voices? Then get serious. And I love that because I seriously wanted to do this. But she was one of many people that I studied with. And, some of them were great and a lot of them weren't. But this is trial and error. You're not going to find perfection in everybody. But I also, learned through my experience that, well, if this teacher was okay, not great, but okay, well, I'd say to myself, what percentage was okay? Maybe 20. Well, I'll bank the 20 that was good and disregard the 80 that wasn't, because I'm not going to dwell on the negative. So, after years of studying, this was me. This was my technique. This was my skill level. But it was a little of this teacher, a little of this teacher, a lot of that teacher, et cetera, et cetera. So, long-winded answer to your question, I studied with anybody that offered a class.
That's great. And then, so when you first got there, was your main priority coaching or looking for an agent, or was it like,
coaching?
Coaching. That's awesome.
I wasn't ready for an agent. I wasn't ready for an agent when I made my first demo. I made my first demo when a teacher told me to, and who am I going to argue with a teacher? But I knew in my heart I wasn't ready, but I also knew that I wasn't the expert. Big mistake, huge mistake. But again, I think everybody is going to make tremendous mistakes along this road, and you'll continue to do them because we're human. But no. See, I went into this at a time where nobody thought about making a living, nobody thought about making money, nobody thought about anything other than being great. You wanted to be a great actor. You wanted to be a great voice actor. And no coach ever talked about making money. Today, it's all about making money because that's what the internet tells you this is all about.
Right.
And it's the antithesis of what I teach. It's the antithesis of what a working actor, be it on camera or voiceover, if they're really of a certain pro level, trust me when I tell you, nobody at the level of Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep says, "Ooh, I can make money at this thing called acting." They just want to be great actors.
Right. And I think what you just said was perfect, because a lot of people, we talk about, getting into this industry, and we focus too much on getting an agent. When I tell people who call me and reach out, I said, the first thing you need to do is get a coach. The first thing you need to do is learn how to act, because you can get an agent, you can get a demo, and then when you go to audition, your audition sounds nothing like what it's supposed to sound like. And they're like, well, why does your demo sound so good, but your audition was awful? You know what I mean? Yeah. And in getting with a casting director, I thought that was a good idea, because you can kind of practice with a coach as well as a casting director with auditions and everything. Yeah. What's your advice to somebody getting into this who really wants to get into like animation? What's the first step after coaching you'd recommend?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't recommend voiceover coaching. I would recommend acting class, acting and improv, become a great actor, and then study voice. Because, you need to learn how to work a mic. There's mic technique. You need to shift gears. If your thing is, I want to be a Shakespearean actor, well, you still study acting, and then you study specifically the technique of Shakespeare. I would suggest you go to London and study that. If your thing is, I want to do soap operas, there's a technique to that. The multi-camera videotape soap opera is going to be different than a single camera movie. So you take different classes, different genres of acting to learn that specific craft, but it's all about the acting. And so you study, if your thing is animation, you study with the best. And, you said something a few minutes ago, you do have to live in Los Angeles if you want to pursue animation. Let me put it this way. You need to live in Los Angeles if you want to start.
Okay. That's good advice.
A lot of people are leaving LA, but they're working actors. And COVID allowed that. We never recorded from home before COVID. We never worked from home doing animation. We had to with COVID. And so now you've got some of the best animation actors in the industry who've, I don't have to live in LA. I can live with my family in Denver. I can live with my family in Nashville. I'm moving. And they have. But if you're starting out today, you might get some work, but odds are better that if you move. I put it this way: you're not going to work on Broadway unless you move to New York. Okay, you can do theater anywhere, and you can do voiceover anywhere.
I like that.
But if you really want animation, you better get your tushy to Los Angeles.
Hey, I got some advice one time that was really good. Is you can actually go to like a community theater and, get with community theater and and learn acting that way too. What do you think
Sure.
about that idea? I think it's a great little, community, get with the community improv. I think that's awesome idea.
Listen, no matter where one lives, it may not be Chicago quality improv, but I can guarantee there are improv uh, schools, college courses, everything benefits. Now, you might go from that to something a little bit more professional and realize, whoa, I barely scratched the surface. But at least you went to the hardcore, Second City, UCB groundling sort of training from something else. But all training is good. A really good working Broadway actor is on stage, 8 nights a week, but during the day they're taking dance and they're taking voice and they're taking movement, and they continue to study and improve on their craft so they don't go into automatic pilot on stage. You're always a smart artist is always looking to get better.
That is awesome. So let's talk about you auditioning for the role of Porky Pig. That is super exciting. What was it like getting that call and getting that audition? What was that process like?
Well, I've been playing him for 33 years, and I still have to audition for him.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah. People who do classic characters do not have a lifetime contract. So there's a brand new producer. Let's see who else is out there. So I have to audition again and again and again and again at showbiz. The first time, it's something I really wanted to do. It's something it was a goal that I had. I was a working actor already in the business, and I had a really good agent. So Mel Blanc passed away in '89, and they started holding auditions in 1990 for a series called Tiny Toon Adventures, which was the first Looney Tunes project that Warner Brothers did after Mel Blanc passed away.
Wow.
And I had a dozen plus auditions over and over and over again. And, it was like anything, it was something I really wanted to do. I was confident. I knew I knew this character really, really well, but I was also a realist. And I went, well, in fact, I said to my agent at the time, by the way, as I got down to the wire, like the final callbacks, and I didn't know there would be more auditions later on. I just knew that this was the first process. I said to my agent at the time, if I don't get this, I'm probably going to do something else with my life, because this is why I went into the business. And then she got all nervous because she gets 10% of my career, whether it's Looney Tunes or non-Looney Tunes. And so, she's like, well, don't you're on an NBC series. I went, yeah, but I don't care. I mean, this is why I got into the business in the first place. So things went my way. I got lucky, but the only round of those auditions that I got nervous in was they called in Chuck Jones to observe one of the auditions. And for people who don't know that name, Google him. He was one of the founding fathers, the creators of the Looney Tunes. And that was nerve-wracking, but I think they had him in there more of like as a courtesy figurehead sort of thing. He had no say. He had no say as to who got what, because he wasn't producing anything with the characters at that time. So that was the first time, and then Tiny Toons was the first job that I did. I did Porky and Tweety in one episode. That was my first job.
That was a great show.
Looney Tunes. It was a great show. Yeah, it was a great show.
So work-life balance and outside the business, what are some things that you like to do to get away from the voice acting and voiceover work period? What do you like to do outside of this crazy industry?
I like exercise. I like to travel. I like to cook. I love what I do as well. So I don't find this work. There's a voice actor named Jack Angel who passed away a year or so ago, who was just one of the funniest, most brilliant voice actors in the business. And he used to always say, voiceover, it beats working for a living. And it's true. Voiceover is, and especially now that in LA, the fact that I do everything from my little box over there and I don't have to get on the freeway, that's fantastic. That's awesome.
That is great. And so, and you like, on social media, I see you like to, talk to your fans and give some advice and stuff like that. What do you think about those getting into this industry, and for example, I can do the voice of Homer Simpson, or I can do the voice of this character and that character. Do you get a lot of that, like people reaching out to you and the whole cliche, I can do the voice of Porky Pig? How do voice actors feel about that? Is it just is it kind of like a cool feeling, or is it kind of obnoxious sometimes?
Well, I mean, I'll talk to anybody,
Hmm.
and I'll try to feel them out. Look, are you just a fan looking to have fun, or is this something you really want to do?
Hmm.
And if they say it's something I really want to do, and then I'll delve deeper. Hey, are you an actor? No, but I don't want to be an actor. I just want to do funny voices. Oh, well, that's like saying I'd like to do ballet, but I don't want to dance.
Hmm.
You've got to be an actor first. Um, Homer Simpson probably won't come up. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
It,
yeah,
it might. And then they're going to argue with me. Well, you wanted to be Porky Pig, yeah, but the odds were against me. I got lucky. Don't base your decisions on what I did and the road that I went down, because the bulk of what I do is not Looney Tunes. It's just
yeah,
high profile.
yeah,
So I will say the same thing I just said earlier. Study acting,
yeah.
study acting, study improv, become a great actor, then study voiceover.
Mm.
Longevity in animation voiceover is all about originality. It's all about being relevant. It's all about knowing I am auditioning a Marvel show for Colette Sunderman that's going to air on Disney,
Hmm.
versus I am auditioning for a DC show for Wes Gleason that's going to air on Cartoon Network. And you need to know, just like commercials or promos, you need to know I'm auditioning for a new series on CBS.
Hmm.
I'm auditioning to be the promo voice for comedy on CBS, the new guy. Let me look at the programming. So people need to know this is show business, and that's in italics. Business. You got to understand the business of the business. It's not about how many voices you can do. It's about originality in characters, and are you relevant in today's market? Um, and your odds of getting that Homer Simpson audition are going to be pretty slim. Dan's
Yeah,
still doing it, and he's still spry.
yeah. I always say that because I mean, I'll get emails all the time. I got a great voice. I should be a voice actor, stuff like that. And I can do this impression. I can do that impression. I always, to speak to somebody who actually does a big time character voice, how you would feel if you got that question. My next question is, your networking, your do's and don'ts. What advice would you give to those as far as networking, how to reach out to, companies to get that big audition? I know we talked earlier about, not just relying on an agent or relying on this or that. What some advice would you give to, like, for me, an example, if I want to reach out and there's like a big role, what's some networking do's and don'ts?
Well, first of all, know you're brilliant. Know you've got the world's greatest demos, and know you've got the world's greatest website. Take off your actor hat, put on your casting director hat, your network executive hat, your associate producer hat, your showrunner hat, and then step outside yourself and look at yourself. Are you somebody that you would want to work with and hire? Are you better than D. Bradley Baker or
Mm-hmm.
or Rob Paulson or hopefully myself?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not, if you have doubts, then you're not ready to go out there and compete. Because once you put yourself out there, you're telling the world you're as good or better than those who are already working. Okay, so let's say you are. Let's
Mm-hmm.
say you are that good. First of all, do you have a substantial body of work that would be impressive
Mm-hmm.
to market to? There are some really, really great, they call them workshops, I call them showcases, like VO Pros. Mary Lynn Wisner has this thing called VO Pros, where you get FaceTime and mic time with agents and casting directors, etc.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great way to get yourself out there. Because I'm telling you right now, if you are that good and an agent from SBB or Atlas or DPN sees you,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to go, I want to grab this actor before anybody else does. That's how good you have to be.
I
It
love
doesn't
it.
matter. It doesn't matter what your marketing is. It matters that you're brilliant. Because if you're brilliant, everybody's going to want to work with you. The problem with the question you just asked me is,
Mm-hmm.
you have to have a product to market, and you have to have a place, a platform to market to. So just how do you market? Well, I need to delve deeper. What is it you're marketing, and what are your goals?
Mm-hmm.
For instance, let's say, okay, I'm an animation character actor, and I really want to do, I'm going to make this up as I go along, a preschool show. I've got kids, I've got nieces and nephews, and I want to do preschool. Go on Google the current preschool shows, the casting directors who probably also voice direct, And you'll see Colette Sunderman, Maria Estrada, Christy Reed. You'll see the major players. Go to cross-reference everybody's IMDb page. Go to Christy Reed's IMDb page, look at all the shows. Go to each show's IMDb page and look at all the actors. Go to each actor's IMDb page and see who their agents are. You're going to see the same agents over and over again. And logic tells you, ooh, that's Vox, that's AVO, that's ESD, that's SBV, that's Atlas. Ooh, there's under 10 that everybody's with.
Right.
I need to be with one of these agents.
I love that.
If you've got one of these agents, when you're marketing to the buyers, to the casting directors, to the producers, you've got more clout because you're marketing to people who know, oh my God, they're with a great agent. If that agent trusts this actor to represent them, they must be worth listening to.
I like that.
The best way to market for new work is from old work. For instance, let's say that you, like I'm on a show called Ridley Jones right now.
Yeah.
I could take a clip of that and take that and market it to all the other preschool casting directors, producers, showrunners, network executives that I've worked with in the past and say, here's what I'm doing right now that I'm really proud of. And then you're going to say, but what if you don't have anything? Then perhaps you're not ready to market.
That's great. That's great.
Perhaps now you shouldn't focus on marketing. You should focus on trying to get some substantial body of work. And when I say you're not ready to market, maybe not ready to market for work, but you're ready to meet people. Get into a workout group where a fellow actor could say, you know, I got to tell you something, you're really good. And or a workshop or one of these cold reading workshops where you meet with a casting director, and let's say it's Christy Reed, and you just connect, and you know, she gives you some wackadoodle direction, and you just knock it out of the park, and you impress the heck out of her, and you pop her a follow-up note. Thank you so much for this. This was really fun. And if she says you're really good, and then you say, may I use you as a referral? I'm shopping agents right now. The best way to get an agent is in the subject line to say referred by.
I love it.
The clear-cut way to get it tossed in the garbage is seeking representation. That's why the majority who say seeking representation don't.
Yeah.
But referred by somebody, and that somebody has to be impressive. But that is marketing. This business is all about relationships. That's all it is. It's about relationships married to talent, and the outcome is work for everybody.
Well, that's a great. I love that. Everything that I was expecting came out in that question.
Okay, good.
So my next thing is, you know, we got springs here. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina, so everything's yellow. Everything's yellow. Everything's yellow, and you know, allergy season. Luckily, knock on wood nearby me, that the allergies haven't got to me yet.
Yeah.
My question is, what do you do to keep your throat and everything healthy during allergy season and weather change? How do you keep your voice totally healthy?
Well, first of all, I don't have allergies, so it doesn't affect me.
Wow.
But you know, everybody gets a cold.
Yeah.
You know, COVID, you're going to get something.
Yeah.
So if you're pursuing at my level, if I've got a session Monday morning and I wake up and my voice is shot, or I can't even get out of bed because I got a flu so bad, I'll just text my agent and say, listen, I can't move. Can they reschedule? If it's the type of thing where I sound lousy, but I don't feel lousy, I'll text my agent and say, now listen, I know I've got a session today for Spidey and his amazing friends.
Right.
But I sound like crap.
Yeah.
I don't feel like crap, but I want to give them the heads up. If they want to reschedule, that's fine. But because we record the voices first and they animate to the soundtrack, I can still perform even if I don't sound perfect. And then in a few months, just redub it ADR, and at least they get the animation done. So the bottom line is you communicate with your agent. You know, if my throat is like raw from a virus, I'm not going to risk feeling worse by working. You know, they can reschedule me. They got a whole cast they could do, and I'm working from home. So, but for people with allergies, I wouldn't take advice from a voice actor who doesn't have allergies. I would take advice from your allergist. You know, go to your doctor and say, I'm a voice actor. What do I do during allergy season?
Yeah, well, you actually answered it real quick. That was great. All right, now I'm going to have some fun with you here with the audition challenge. Before the show, I talked to you. I wrote some copy for you that,
Okay.
yeah, I'm an 80s kid, so I grew up with some fun bubble gum and some crazy things that we would eat and drink. And nowadays, they really don't care anymore. I sent it to your chat.
Oh, okay.
There's a fun little script there, and I think you'll get a kick out of it. You probably remember this gum that we had back in the day. So I'll give you some time to look at this and just.
All right, so we're doing commercial stuff, not animation stuff.
Yeah. Or you can do an animation voice, but it's some fun little commercial, like back. We're going back to the 1980s, and
Okay.
we're gonna bring back this particular bubble gum with a particular taste. I thought you'd get a kick out of this one.
Imagine the taste of fresh barbecued ribs and green beans in one bite.
Yeah.
Tidal wave bubblegum brings you. Are these all individual lines?
Yeah,
Or is it-
individual.
is it-
Yeah,
Oh,
individual.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right. I'm going to treat you like I would if you were a casting director. These are just lines. What's my intended audience? What time of the day does this air? What network?
So we're doing Saturday morning cartoons.
Great.
And it's like a summer afternoon kind of feel. We're in the summer. We're in like a summer park, and kids are excited about the bubble gum. And
Okay.
it's like picture a picnic in the park kind of feel.
Okay.
And you're
all right. So let's say that this is just sent to me to read from my home studio. Let's say this isn't a live read because we don't really do live reads anymore. We don't have casting directors, and there's nobody but me, my microphone, and my own creativity.
Mm-hmm.
So if these were just individual lines, I would do an ABC with each one. One. For instance, for the first one, I might just do something very casual and conversational. This summer, the wave is back with a flavor you won't believe. And then I might do something a little bit more, dude. This summer, the wave is back with a flavor you won't believe. And if I want to do something completely over the top, this summer, the wave is back with a flavor you won't believe. What I've done is I've shown them conversational me, character surfer me, and over the top me.
Love it.
I don't tell them I'm going to do this. I just do it.
Okay.
All right. So the other one, imagine the taste of fresh barbecued ribs and green beans in one bite. Okay. Now, I am one, again, if there's no direction, I am one. Look, the script is a skeleton. Your job is to give it a body.
Right.
Playing it safe sometimes works against you, because I could play it safe. Imagine the taste of fresh barbecue ribs and green beans in one bite. That's safe. Yeah. That's obvious.
Yeah.
Imagine the taste of fresh barbecued ribs and green beans in one bite. Or imagine the taste of fresh barbecued ribs and green beans in one bite. Again, I'm going all over the place.
Yeah, I love it.
Then that's right. Tidal wave bubblegum brings you. Wow. Okay. That's right. Tidal wave bubblegum brings you, and the ellipses means that they're waiting for something else.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Tidal wave bubblegum brings you. And I might just go back to the surfer dude again because it's a tidal wave. Yeah. That's right. Tidal wave bubblegum brings you.
I love it. I love that one. That's perfect. That's awesome.
Ribs and green beans bubblegum coming soon. All right. I'm a big fan of adjusting punctuation.
Okay.
So just to, you want to keep them guessing.
Yeah.
And by the way, a creative choice doesn't necessarily mean they're going to keep your creative choice when you get the job. But if you keep them laughing, if you catch them off guard. So I see that exclamation point after coming soon. My first read, I'm going to honor that. Ribs and green beans bubblegum coming soon. But I might give one ribs and green beans bubblegum coming soon.
That's awesome.
Just to give them something different. And then again, you think of everything from subtext to reason and intent.
Yeah.
So what if I'm sitting in the school library? Because the microphone can hear your hair growing. It's so sensitive. I can up the gain as if I'm doing a top secret, like a bubblegum drug deal in the hallway.
Yeah.
Ribs and green beans bubblegum coming soon.
That is awesome.
And the whole purpose behind all those different choices is the only limitations that an actor has is their own imagination, their own creativity. It's one of the reasons I really do like what we're doing today, which is auditioning in our home studio, because there's nobody there to say, you can't do this.
Yeah.
But if you second guess yourself, if you're afraid to take risks, man, you're missing out on an opportunity. So my technique is my first take. I'm still creative. I still add layers of interest, but I'm very respectful of the writer's intent on take one, take two, take three. It's what I think will get me in the room. But then they'll redirect me to take one.
I love it. And so how many takes you usually do? Like, say if you got an audition, how many takes if you see oh my gosh, say it's like 2 lines. Do you do 2 takes or do you do 3 takes? How many do you usually do?
Whatever I want.
That's awesome.
I don't have a formula, but I also have an agent that will always say, give us 2 to 5 takes.
Okay.
If it's a real short one like that, give us 2 to 5 takes. Here's what else I'll do. If it's like a 30-second radio spot with a very interesting tag or a very specific tag, like Toyota, let's go places. I might do the tag 5, the spot all the way through, but the tag 5 different ways. I don't have a rule. It's whatever hits me creatively. There are times when it's a cartoon character, and I'm like, I can think of 3 different ways for this character. So I slate Bob Bergen 3 takes. So they know if they don't like the first one, there's a second and a third. But this is a conversation you have to have with your agent. Yeah. Because some agents are going to say, oh no, if you're going to do multiple takes, please put that on separate MP3s. So again, even if it's a character, I'm creative, but I respect the development process. It's a pilot. Might have been in development for 5 years. They're so married to these words and this character that I'm very respectful to that first take. Take 2 and 3, polar opposite, totally. Not just different voice, different intent. I imagine a different scene partner. I imagine a different location. I imagine everything is different. Because if you're reading a character like this, the first take is like this, and here's take 2. Take 2 like this. Take 2 is just a little lower, but that's not different. That's just lower.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's great advice. I love that.
But if I'm doing a character like this for take 1, this is totally different. Very different voice. Very different intent than this guy right here. So different better be different.
I love it.
Don't waste their time. Don't waste their time with multiple takes if you're just gonna do different versions of the same thing.
Love it. I love it. You have been so helpful today, and you have been so awesome and so informative. Where can we follow you on social media, and where can we find you on the big World Wide Web?
Okay, social media. On Instagram, I am at bergen.bob, and I do a bunch of video tutorials on Instagram. So there's like dozens of them. Yeah. Twitter, it's at Bob Bergen. I'm on Facebook. I'm also you can find my website, bobbergen.com. You can email me. Can I plug one thing?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
For people who are studying voiceover or interested in voiceover, this is the second time we've done this, but next January, Mary Lynn Wissner and I, who's a commercial casting director, we're doing a voiceover cruise. Nice. And it's round trip from San Francisco, January 2024. We're only taking 20 students. Right now we're only taking 40 students. Right now we've got about 20, 25. If you're interested, pop me a note. I'll send you all the information. But once it's full, it's full. Trying to keep but it's 5 full days of workshops, 2 commercial, 2 animation, and then a full day of business and marketing. Don't have to be an expert at this. You can be an expert at this, but it's a Mexican Riviera. So when we're not doing workshops, have a margarita and parasail.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. And for those who need that information sent to them, I will send that to them through DM or through email. Bob Bergen, again, thanks so much for being on Behind the Audition podcast.
My pleasure.
For more information about Bob Bergen or to book him for a project, go to bobbergen.com.
Thanks for listening in on Behind the Audition podcast, made possible by Hilton Productions. If you need a male or female voiceover, contact us at hiltonproductions.com. Hilton Productions, let our voices do the selling.